it's not really the case, where they are a little bit, in flux in a way. And there's actually now a world in which you could see upsets happening and teams beating them. So I think for Castle, while on paper, they're definitely not the favorites. So the underdogs coming in, they've got a good chance. But Travis, we are ready to kickstart CSGO in 2023. Endpoint starting on the CT side.
Let's get going. The first pistol round that we both will have casted in 2023. Remember this one purely because of that particular statistic, and already the utility has been brought up pretty nicely on the caster side. Yeps and Steel, 2 smokes, 3 flashes in total, and there's not even a single piece of utility on the Endpoint side. They're looking to battle straight up, not even a defuse kit. So if caster can get the bomb planted, then you never know.
I've got to say, it's very risky from Endpoint right on a map like Overpass to be bringing in no utility at all. This could really come back to bite them. If they lose control of a site, retakes become difficult, but I like the context style of play they're playing here. Very passive, giving Casa the space, and just waiting for them to make mistakes.
Has the green bin smoke coming in from Steel. As I said, all the years of experience. He has a really good run, actually, on this map, I think, with Movistar Riders back in the day. I say back in the day, it wasn't even that long ago, but yeah, he was a pretty good Overpass player. But they're going to be popping in toward B off the back of that fake with that smoke in toward the A site. So Endpoint are going to have to play retake, but they might not even need it at the moment. Mighty Max will retake the first kill in RCF, and Honda, even though he's close up, this might be a bit of an issue. Honda will get the first, or the second, sorry. They're trying to hold off the retake, and Honda gets 2 in the end, which is a great job. Back into a 2 versus 2. Bomb is planted, by the way. There's a slight HUD bug at the moment, so you have to keep an eye on the map itself. And it's all down to Heavy God in this 1 versus 2. And Yeps is just dancing around the pillar right now. There's no chance in this scenario. Time is being wasted down further and further. And Casa will get the first pistol round.
Hey, gotta say, really good work from Casa. I mean, again, this is where you look back to a side like Endpoint, and granted, while they did find the opening kill, fantastic stuff from them. Even with a numbers advantage, the lack of utility made that extremely difficult to regain control, right? And that's what we saw. They just couldn't get any sort of favor or fortune over towards that B site. A lot of credit has to be given towards Casa in the way in which they implemented themselves into a post plant. The second they got that bomb down, start to take a step back, right? You see the guy post over towards short, dancing around pillar as well. But look at Endpoint now. They're just flying in towards mid.
I love that, because the 5.7s close up are probably the most overpowered gun in the game right now. And they're already doing some significant damage, but unfortunately not much luck with the opening pick. Steel will just about get away with that one, with the Mac 10, and keep his utility intact as well. So Endpoint have to fall back off of it, back toward the A bomb site. We will get the timer fixed for you at the top of the screen very soon, guys. Don't you worry. But I'll make sure to keep you up to date with everything that's going on, of course, so you're not losing any information that you may otherwise be bypassing. But yeah, this should be a nice little cleanup for Casa now. It's nice to see RCF on the scout too, just holding the long ranges while they're waiting outside Monster. And maybe a double barrel setup could work out, but already their first bit of information has been spotted. And now Surreal was tagged down very low as well. But they have gone for that bait line I mentioned, so Nertz is still there. Unfortunately, he is that second low HP player, so even if he gets not checked, I guess you could say, only 1 bullet required to take him down. The Client's going to do some damage though. There's 1, but he can't get the second until a few seconds later, and he even makes it a third as well. Heavy God took a frag in the meantime with all of that madness going on too, and somehow Honda is 1v3.
What a round from Nerds. He might have done enough. Time is ticking, I think, in my internal clock. We've got sub 20 here. He might have to just call for a save, keep the AK ticking over. This is a brutal round off the back of Nerds. Of course, Heavy God as well, walking away with just another frag under his belt. But that is a sumptuous round from what is the impact fragger over towards Endpoint. When we look at entries, when we look at people who are going to step up, it's Nerds. He's exactly that. It's a save call made. Honda keeps the AK ticking over into the next, but money is dwindling for the T side. Honda's got nothing to spare. We look around them as well, and money isn't exactly pretty. 2K is what they were sitting on. And they've kind of got to go for a force buy here. They haven't got lost burns to work with. They didn't get a bomb plant. So that means as well, with Honda having $0 in the bank coming into round number 3, it is just forced into an AK, a hero AK, and a couple of pistols to just try and make this work. But for Endpoint, they have salvaged a situation from what looked like nothing.
Yeah, it's a shame because honestly, Casa didn't do too badly in the opening stages of that round. They did everything right. They just didn't expect the double barrel setup. And as I said, Nertz was low. So I thought it wouldn't necessarily work out for more than 1 kill, but somehow he fights his way to get 3 as the distraction from the other players on the site comes in as well. Pretty ridiculous. And as you say, now the buy for Casa is not too hot at all. So
yeah, slow here.
Heavy God's got a Mac 10 too, right? Picked up, which is going to probably farm some of these guys up.
Well, none of MHL's anything to do with it. There's a double for him, though, to step in. I don't think there's any money for Heavy God to get at this rate. He's going to have to rotate over, but it should be relatively cleaned up. I don't, obviously, in this point, I'd probably even once again just go for another AK save. I think, you know, where they're currently standing, they're not going to get a bomb plant, and they're going to have nothing to work with into next anyway. Yes, the save means they have no money, but I think having an AK is better than nothing.
Oh, honestly, even though it's a boring option, but unfortunately I agree with you. We've got a M4, of course, picked up on Leo as well, so that actually might make them want to go for some damage at least, because they don't want to give Endpoint all the money in the world in this scenario, because they'll survive with, or win the round, sorry, with 4 players, so that'll be a tough one to come back from. So they are creeping up toward A. As I said, of course, we will get the clock fixed for you at the top of the screen at some point, so we know exactly at what point of the round we're in. Leo will go for the plant. Honda will hold it off, but unfortunately, there's not really much chance for Leo to pull out his M4 in time. So Heavy God does get a couple of kills with that Mac 10 and has a free upgrade as well. So that's a perfect rebuttal from Endpoint.
Yeah, not bad at all. I mean, you know, for Casa, you can even say to be walking away with a bomb plant there is much better than what it was kind of initially looking like it was going to come to the fray. So for them to even walk away with a bomb plant and a kill to their name, they can actually be kind of happy with that, because it was an AK and a relatively minimal force buy investment around it. But in the grand scheme, it hasn't really made any effect. I mean, Endpoint have taken a lead here, and they should be able to hold on and, well, extend it heading into this next one, right? It should be relatively comfortable. Full buy for them over towards Casa. It's minimal. Stick around the 2k mark means you have money to work with in towards the next, regardless of whether you get a bomb plant or not. So it should be a 3-1 if all goes to plan.
You'd think so, but I've seen other things happen. We shall find out. Honda has that solitary suit of Kevlar. Of course, remember Honda having a couple of pretty insane clips in the
Ace.
Exactly, in the few games that we played on Furia. Actually, one of the hot prospects back then, but unfortunately, kind of got overtaken by Furia's next choices, and rightly so. Furia's performance at the major, of course, was pretty insane. RCF, of course, formerly was on loan at High Coast. I think that was probably the last time I casted him in an old North America Cash Cup.
Okay.
Good old days.
Good old days. I mean, this has been clean, hasn't it? Clinical from Endpoint. You sort of expect it in those sort of rounds, right? It's a bit of a, I like to call them cannon fodder rounds, right? We expect it to only go one way, and realistically it should. You're bringing in a couple of deagles to maybe give you a slight chance of finding a couple of frags, but as things pass, those M4s should have cleaned up, and they did exactly that. Quite interestingly enough as well, we're seeing the vast majority of players and teams now make that, you know, definite switch over from the A1S to the A4. So it seems like everybody's going back to kind of the good old days of the A4, and there's very few, if any, A1S players left kind of, well, in and around the scene. I don't think I've seen many at all since the change was made.
Yeah, it's interesting. I, for one, at the moment, really think it's the most even between the two it's ever been. So I think that's pretty, makes it pretty interesting coming up for the upcoming year, because, you know, A1S, the spray pattern of how simple it is, makes it still so attractive. A nice bit of initiative being attempted there by Endpoint, trying to flash Nerds in toward Playground, but unfortunately Cancer counter it absolutely perfectly. Nice swing from Heavy God to get 1 kill back, but it's still a 3v4.
For now, slow. Much better from Casa. I like what Endpoint were doing, as you said, you know, taking some initiative, going for space. Also, the more important thing, for a T-side, right, denying them having all that map control makes it easy for you to kind of garner a little bit of that information, but it's going to bite them, because now Endpoint are playing at a numbers disadvantage. As a rotation's being made over towards B, they're going for the quad stack there, they're going to pop out towards Monster, and to be honest, they'll be giving this for free. There's no one there to meet them.
Yeah. This is a good choice at the moment from Casa. Going as a group together, just trying to keep the basics in tow, right? Because if you are a team that's the underdogs, and you get the basics done right, and you always have a chance to get some sneaky rounds on the board and translate the chances when you do get those opening picks. So if they've stuck together, walking in toward B, I think my internal clock right now would say maybe there's about 20 seconds to go in the round, as of course we are working to get that timer fixed for you. Figure that out in due course. But Heavy God's here in quick time, and Steel can't react, and Heavy God's just taken all 3 of them. The bomb may have gone down, but it leaves Leo Drunky 1 versus 3 with just 32 points of health, and he's locked in water as well. Going to be peaked from 2 different angles in a matter of moments. There it is, and Heavy God showing his talent. That's why Spinks picked him in his HLTV Top 20 prediction. Endpoint reach 4.
Yeah, I mean, for Heavy God, you know, since he's been picked up by Endpoint, we've seen kind of flashes of brilliance. I think, to be perfectly honest, as someone who really likes Endpoint as an organization, of course, being UK-based, they're kind of one of the first that I really got the chance to kind of get to know and work with, etc. For Heavy God, for me, when he first came in, a couple of question marks in my mind. Is this guy going to live up to the hype? Is he really going to live up to kind of the big boots of previous members like Flames, for example, right? We're thinking, you know, is he as good as those who have come before? And I think we've seen moments of it. And if he can make that a little bit more consistent, the way we are kind of seeing him now, 9-1 is some pretty decent statistics to have under your belt after the first few rounds. Then this is where we're going to see Heavy God. And Endpoint as a side, I actually really have a lot of potential going into 2023. I mean, MHL as an individual was someone who was touted as probably the next best thing coming out of Poland for a while, and even still, right? He's still young. A lot of people think this guy is kind of the future of Polish CSGO, and having the chance to speak to him as well, he kind of sees it himself. And it's always good to see players who are confident in their own ability and confident in where they stand on a kind of an international scale. So with those 2 new signings of Heavy God and MHL, if they really find that form with an Endpoint, I don't think it's even outlandish to say that we could potentially at Blast have some Endpoint stickers.
Yeah, you never know, honestly. That's been what they've been... That's sort of their ultimate goal for a really long time, right? Yeah. I mean, they've never managed to get it. They've had good teams, and they've probably seen all these decent Tier 2 teams come and go, and thinking, why can't we do that? Like, why haven't we crossed that boundary yet? But, yeah, it's going to happen at some point, because they just keep finding these guys in the sort of level of Counter-Strike, and have so much talent. And of course Nertz really has been the main man. It's not just Heavy God, it's really Nertz, and so far both of them performing superbly. So we shall see. But of connected control for Casa. Mighty Max holding outside that position. No steps been made, I'm pretty sure, from anyone in Con at the moment, so he's not going to be aware as of yet. Still going for a peek above Divider. And that's his long bathroom, and he has a big shadow advantage, of course, in that particular position. There they are. Gets the line up, but only 1. Good trade from Steel, and they don't lose too much health on it either. So I would say, again, internal clock, maybe around 50 seconds to go, then I can make a call.
And now they can take a little bit of time Endpoint as well, just to slow things out. They don't really need to overextend here, right? We kind of see them go for these over-aggressive plays, looking for information. They've heard the information, though. MHL can take a step back. In comes that utility. He's going to be tested.
Good frag. Manages to fall back to the bank as well. Heavy God still playing behind the dice, but only gets a little bit of damage. MHL, that's a nice shot up close. Steel will drop. 2v3, and now I'm thinking, obviously, we don't know the time exactly, but I think they're up against it. So they're going to have to punch the digits now. They get it done in time. MHL continues to go for those wall bangs, but in the end, Yeps was low from those wall bangs, and the damage done. The grenade flies in. It's all down to RCF, but he can't get the clean spray. MHL takes that one with the rifle as he switches for the retake. It's 5-1.
Pretty good round. MHL's on a bit of a corker, hasn't he? Really good control from him. Just playing over towards front bank, kind of back dice position. And he's able to do something that's very difficult at times over towards Overpass because of how the kind of the sights are set up. And there's those long range duels, but it's close action right on the sights themselves. To be able to isolate fights in the way he did, really well played. Find a pop shot, fall back, reposition, allow for him to be continuously having the upper edge. That's what we want to see from MHL. Confident AWPing, really stepping up and alleviating a lot of pressure that Endpoint were potentially feeling at times in that round. Pretty nicely done. 4-round lead as well. Casa, I know the T side of Overpass can be tough to get the ball rolling, but right now it's at a dead stop.
Exactly. T-side Overpass is certainly a cruel mistress, especially as it's the first game of the day. Probably been waiting quite a long time to get their game started, so it can sometimes start slow like this, but at the end of the day, can only class that as your own fault and not any outside influence. We do believe the timer's fixed, guys. So thank you very much to production for getting that sorted. Round of applause. We now have a nice ticking clock at the top of the screen, so that should be sorted for you, and it should show when the bomb is planted as well. Nert's jump spotting the A bomb site, and he spots 2 players charging up, so that's a jump straight back toward bank again. But Casa have control now, and Endpoint playing a full 5v5 retake on the A bomb site. Not something you see too often, actually. Usually you see retakes more on B in this sort of scenario. Max has been taken down by Yeps as well. Leo Drunky's got a close angle toward bank. That should work for at least one if his crosshair is in the right spot. Creeping in, he peeks for it, but he pre-fires him beautifully. He guessed that position. Now MHL creeping in from long. He out-duels RCF as well. Castor have done such great work to get themselves into these positions, but they just can't convert them at the moment. There's the frag from Honda. The smoke is on the bomb. Heavy God takes one more. They're not aware whether it's being defused or not yet, but now it certainly is. Honda going for the spray. Can't connect. And it's defused. Unlucky Casa. It's another nice try, but they just can't get over the line yet.
Yeah, you know, for Casa, it's a simple case of so close yet so far. They can't just pass that final hurdle, that final speed bomb. That is them finding success of rounds. Yep. They're getting bomb plants. They're getting the numbers advantage as well, but they just can't seem to see it off. And this is a thing that whilst in the kind of, you know, the small short-term picture, I think there's a lot of positives that Casa can take away. But long-term, this is really going to start to build up. I mean, we're already at quite the hefty deficits, all things considered. 5-round lead. Endpoint's economy is starting to flourish over on that CT side. And for Casa, they're going to get to a point later in the line where we start to ask ourselves internally, maybe externally on the broadcast as well, is this a case of too little too late? Are they starting to find their form? Yeah. You know, let's say we look towards the second half and they go in at a mammoth deficit. Is it too little too late already? Do we have to then maybe even mentally reset and just kind of look forward towards Vertigo, which is kind of a... it's a horrible position to be in. I think for Casa, they themselves know that there's sort of a mental block that's just seeing them off and getting that second round on the board and allowing Endpoint to continue to just go further and further away.
Yeah, and MHL is very confident and he's feeling it at the moment. That's a lovely peek aggressively toward the bottom of Con, taking Honda out of the round. RCF himself with the AWP, of course. He will tend to be the player to pick up the AWP on the Casa Esports side. And he's managed just to get himself an angle up towards shot, but that Molotov might just ruin his dreams. I don't think it's deep enough. It's not touching him at the moment, and it's not spreading either. So he still has that control. Unfortunately, Casa have had to work so hard just for one pick. And Leo is 12 HP from that one pick. So it's not really working out too great at the moment. RCF will now creep in. He misses the flick, and that was the important one. If he could have hit that shot, there was a path back into the round, but it's not to be. And the bomb is dropped outside Monster in the possession of Endpoint.
There we go. Now, of course, for Leo is only one decision to make. He's got 45 seconds to dwell on it, and it's to save. He's got 12 points of HP. There is nothing he can do here. Doesn't have control of the bomb. It is landlocked over towards that B side. There is no way in for him. Keep the AK ticking over because, ladies and gents, look over towards the bottom right. Money isn't exactly looking too pretty for Casa. They are in a dire state right now. They have to at least have something to work with in terms of economy, in terms of rivalry into the next, because if this AK isn't saved, they are going to be flat out broke. So yeah, it is going to be a safe call. I think actually for Leo it'd be all right. I wouldn't even mind in this sort of position for Endpoint to have gone hunting, but you know, with now 5 seconds left on the clock, it's a little bit too late. But grand scheme, I think for them, going for the Hun, because they know they've got plenty of economy to work with. Realistically speaking, I don't think they should really ever struggle for the rest of this half. The way things have been, where even when it's even, Endpoint still make it expensive on the other side. Economy-wise, they should be fine, right? So I think a Hun would be nice. But does it make a difference? Not really, because you look over towards Casa, alongside the AK, what have they got? Not a lot. Just a couple of pistols, bit of armor, bit of utility. It's not a fantastic buy, but it's better than nothing. Trav, I gotta say though, mate, I am feeling seriously worried.
Yeah, it's a shame because as we've mentioned already and as we've discussed, they've had some very good scenarios. I mean, just think about the time they got the bomb planted toward B, then Heavy God, who was in connector, just arrives on short and kills 3 of them. And then in that previous round as well, they had pretty decent afterplant positions. They got into a 5v5 afterplant, basically. So they just couldn't convert either, and that's the real big issue. They're going to try and turn up the pace now, though, and that could be the way to get into this one. Surreal's going to be out of bullets. He whiffs his spray, and would you believe it? It's the pistols. Of course it is. Counter-Strike's truly well and back, people. Would you ever have 5? And surely Endpoint can't go for this.
I think very much so. He needs to be careful to make sure that AWP stays in play. I don't think he'll be pressured too much for it. Nerds will be absolutely fine by exits. MHL's isolated. There's a world in which these pistols can force it to be dropped. And hey, I mean, of course, they can reinvest back into it, no problems. But for Casa, that would be an absolute luxury that otherwise they wouldn't be able to have of their own regard. But hey, if Tier 2 CS wasn't back in your minds, now it most definitely is. A pretty much non-existent buy is converted. Finally, another round for Casa. We were waiting for it, hoping to find a little bit of success. And we've already mentioned about how much of a cruel mistress the T side of Overpass really can be. I think it's extremely momentum heavy. Probably of all the T sides in the game, even more than Ancient, I think it's more momentum heavy. And, well, look where we are now. I mean, Casa finally starting to get that snowball effect underway, getting the ball rolling a little bit. They've got to chain these, though. It can't be a flash in the pan. There's got to be continuous success, longevity in this Casa T-side round. I mean, I'm looking to at least 5 rounds on the T-side before I'm even remotely comfortable. And it's not exactly the easiest feat for them with how we've seen them play so far.
No, you're absolutely right. One thing that is a bit of a godsend, though, of course, is the fact that they did win that round on a half buy. And it's something that I've always mentioned, you know, for years. Even when I started commentary 2.5, 3 years ago, it's just a case of, well, because they won on a half buy, they have actually a spare buy in arrears. So it gives them a bit of a lifeline. It gives them a little bit of breathing room. The flash is decent to try and send Leo in toward long, but Nertz just avoids it and switches back immediately. And you can't do much about that. 2 gone. Gun barrel spotted for Max, but RCF checks it smartly. And in the meantime, Casa are actually creeping straight out Monster. Surely Helibot isn't expecting this one. He most certainly is not. But Surreal is still there to help out. He covers it into a 3v2, but Honda is still waiting for the aggression of Nertz. So recovered into an even standpoint with 50 seconds to go.
Now, the interesting thing for me of what we've seen so far from Casa is their mid-rounding's pretty brutal. We haven't seen too much success come off the back of the mid-round. They're very good when they get initial early success. But now in the mid-round, that's where they struggle, and that's already great. Honda has found in a forward position over towards the A side, dropped MHL, and it leaves Surreal all alone. A stalwart to the Endpoint side, one of the longest reigning members aside from Mighty Max. And he has to step up to the plate, looking for the first, and he won't be able to find it. Honda, 3 kills to his name, and it's 3 rounds for Casa Esports as they're finally starting to break this deadlock.
Exactly, and they're whittling down that economy as well. You mentioned they might have enough for the rest of the half, but there are a couple of M4A4 users, of course, as well on this Endpoint side. So with all the economy and with all the utility, they're going to have to buy up with that. I mean, it's getting back down to lower numbers. MHL is going to have to rebuy the AWP here. He's going to be down to what? Let's see. Maybe even like 2k, something like that. Maybe even less. So yeah, this is an interesting situation. Casa have a chance now. They're building up a couple of nice rounds in this T side. As you so rightly said, I mean, they have been so close on a number of them before. It just took that pistol rush to break that barrier.
Hey, I'm impressed. I gotta say, for Casa, they've actually managed to just slowly but surely make this a little bit more of a comfortable situation. I mean, when we were sitting, you know, a few moments ago and they're only on 1 round and we're already starting to kind of get, you know, over a quarter of the way through this game, out of regulation anyway, I was getting extremely worried. It wasn't looking like kind of the Casa we know and love who can be lights out. It can be such electrifying CSGO. Thankfully now we're starting to see moments of it. And of course, it's none other than Honda as the main man to really step up to the plate. He has been pretty good in these last few. And if they can lean off the back of his success, they can make a case for themselves. All pun intended.
Yeah, especially you've led me into that one pretty well, actually. Just any of our very hardcore Casa fans in chat, are we correct in saying Casa and not Case? I assume we are. Just double check and let us know.
I think
just
so,
in case.
because of Casa is Casemiro. That's what I've been told. But if anyone at home knows for sure, because some people call them Case. I've been told to call them Casa because it's Casemiro's org, the Real Madrid, well, now Man United football player, but ex-Real Madrid football player, as probably most will know him as. But yeah, let us know. I've been led to believe it's Casa.
Yeah.
Because of Casemiro. But
we
if
shall
we're wrong,
see.
let us know. We're more than happy to learn. We're open-minded.
Exactly. We've got the chat open just in case, you know, in case something's very wrong so we can correct ourselves. Wink, wink. Anyway, 4 versus 3. Steel did manage to get one pick in that connector fight that we saw come through. You can see the body's littered right now in that position in the map. There was at least that one trade. MHL and Heavy God peeking off the back of each other to get a duo between the two of them. And Yeps once again is up towards short. 30 seconds to go, or more like 25 to be fair, to get that bomb planted. And Honda is the one with that bomb, so he's creeping up toward Monster now. Have to get a hurry on here. Max is in water, and of course they have to be wary of Heaven, and they do not have a Heaven smoke set up. Honda, he had that smoke, did not get it thrown in. And that's going to be all she wrote in that round for Casa, purely because of there being no Heaven smoke available. They probably would have lost the round anyway, but just made it doubly difficult.
One of those things as well, you know, Max individually hasn't really been called on the IGL of Endpoint, and he's usually not the person you look towards when you're looking for kind of, you know, outright fragging. On this side, it's the MHLs and the Nerds of the world, and actually at times, Heavy God, to be fair. He's has moments of brilliance, but for Max, you know, 4 and 4, he's not called on that often, but he continuously steps up when he's needed to. You see a little bit there as well, so really good to see how he's sort of out-calling Castle right now and really started to pull aside this CT. They've already guaranteed themselves a lead at the half. And for Casa, they need to at least chip away the deficit before we're at that halfway mark. Now they've gone to aggro into short water, decent amount of map control, but what do they do with it?
Yeah, it's Overpass 101 to get short control, whether you're a CT or a T player. And Yeps has been very solid in doing that so far, but unfortunately he was first out, and kind of first out alone toward the B-bomb site. So that's going to be one kill back for Surreal, but Steel is still waiting towards short. RCF tries to duel MHL toward Heaven, but that's not going to be a duel that will go in your favour too often in that specific angle. Still playing inside the smoke, but MHL takes him too. Both of them kind of playing a smoke fade, to be fair. Now it's Leo, last alive, 1 versus 4. Did manage to get that trade, which does drop the AWP, but he has to check every single position. Worried about being flanked. Nertz is there, but not even showing himself yet. And the time on that one could be pretty poor. He's coming in right now. Instant headshot in the back of the dome. And that's 9 for Endpoint.
Yeah, and now this is going back to kind of a regular procedure showing of how this game started out and sort of what we expected in a sense of, you know, when we looked at the overall on paper of this game, Endpoint were the favourites, Casa were the relatively heavy underdogs, and this is how it's showing out right now. 9-3, you've got a 6-round lead. Endpoint realistically should go into the halfway mark with, you know, double digits, right? I'd be extremely surprised and not seeing them pick up at the very least 10. And I was saying for Casa, it'd be nice if they find 5, but now it's starting to get to a point of being slightly unlikely. Yeah,
they're back down to their lower economy now. It gave them a little bit of breathing room, as I mentioned, by winning that eco, or half buy, I should say. So, gave them a bit of money to work with, but it's been whittled down once again. One Galil for Leo. RCF only on the Glock, sacrificing himself to get as much money as possible for that next round. Might be able to afford an AWP actually, with that 29.50 left over. We shall see. Max elevated on top of the barrels toward B, trying to make the angle less pre-fireable. He's already seen some arms. There's the first, has to reload, but he's got support from Surreal. UK duo holding off against the rush. They're going to make it completely successful. That's very loud. I hope we haven't left you at home, because that was very loud in our ears.
Yeah, a stalwart of the UK scene, the two of them, and they combine very nicely. Very, very good call there for Max as well. Elevated angle, gets the information. Of course, when you're parched up over towards either barrels or over towards pillar, you kind of get to see the shadows a little bit early. Yeah. Hence why he was able to get that spray coming through, and it was, yeah, lovely, comfortable, easy. Not really too much to dissect, all things considered. So, for Casa, this is probably potentially even the last full buy we really see from it. If they can't find a bomb plant here, they have no economy to work with into the last. It's going to be janky force buys like Galils and SMGs to try and work with. They have to find success here, especially if they want to find 5 at the half. A lot of it hinges here.
Indeed. Nertz is continuing his confident plays, holding a big off angle next to the lamp on long, trying to duel, but unfortunately for him, it's actually the AWP to come his way first, so that's not really going to work out for you. RCF takes that one. Casa being a little bit easy to read at the moment in terms of their proper T-gun rounds. They only had that little bit of advantage, as I mentioned, halfway through this first half. Should take a little bit of advantage of it during that point, but Endpoint always tend to fight back when they have that quality on CT side. But you never know. It is going to be a CT side overpass switch, of course, for Cassie. They can easily fight back from there.
For now, though, I mean, for Casa, you don't really get to say it too often. Doing a pretty good position. Opening kill gone their way. Numbers advantage looking good. And so's the map control. They've got the ability to double back towards B if they want to, which I think Endpoint are very wary of, but they've basically got complete control of the A site. This is the first time in a long time we have seen a very nice kind of round for Casa where they've set themselves up for success. Endpoint, this is a tough retake.
Exactly, and honestly, it's actually the second time we've seen it in this game. Sure, Endpoint won the last one, but that was a 5v5, not a 4v5. So you'd have to say that Casa surely, now they have a lot better up-front position, should be a lot better set up, and they are. RCF maybe blind, but he times his shot to perfection. Good recovery from MHL, but already time is starting to tick down. Smoke will come on toward the bomb, so that will force Casa forward a little bit, and Cyril gets another one. RCS being baited again and again by Mighty Max, and they're on the defuse right now. They can't find it. One bullet needed, and it's not going to work. Oh, they just got the kill at the last second. Honda did get that frag, but I think it was 0.00001 after the defuse. Can you believe it?
Jesus.
Unlucky.
My God, that was so close. Seriously close. I mean, credit to Endpoint. That's nerves of steel. You know, the age-old moniker of pros don't fake really played out true and tested there. But Casa, they get unfortunate. Honda again. He seems to be the real only person who is so consistently stepping off for Casa, and he gets so close. You gotta feel bad a little bit for them. Hot shot coming through. Leo Junkie down to 2 points of HP, and the nade will see him off. MHL, Kobe from range, as Nert will step up to the plate as well. Honda to fall leaves it in an immediate double entry for Endpoint. They've got all the control alongside it too.
What are you supposed to do about that? You just get tagged for 98 in 1 by an op, you don't even see on the top of the smoke, and the nade comes at you and finishes you off. Yeah, no chance. See you next half. At this rate.
That's it. I'm impressed, Trav. I'm very impressed. I mean, you know, there's definitely a little bit of internal bias on my side to a UK organisation, being a UK caster, but there's a lot of good things to talk about. So far, this has been, well, nothing short of dominance.
Yeah, and it's really nice to see everyone fragging across the board as well. That's a big thing. There's no one really just going on a hard carry right now. RCF, that's an excellent duel. It's the second time he's managed to win one against MHL. He's stepping himself into the series ever so slightly. Endpoint continue to make these retakes work toward A though, and Steel is convinced they can at least win one of these eventually. He knows that his team probably should have won both of them, realistically. You find yourself in a position like that, and Steel just checks the corner angle, and unfortunately that is when Heavy God emerges from the truck. 4v2 as Nertz creeps up from Con. It's all down to Nertz. Heavy God is looking for the big spray with the M4A4, and he gets it done. 12-3 on the half for Endpoint. The first half of Counter-Strike is done and dusted. We're going to go to a quick break. See you in a minute.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. What a half from Endpoint. 12-3, nothing short of dominance from the UK organisation. For Casa, we are really yet to see anything that was too impressive. I mean, they have seriously struggled, but that's not a bad start. RCF will kickstart things. Nerds to falls, not a buy frag to find by any means.
Yeah, and that's actually a very hard frag to take, to be fair, when you're on boosted up. You're not playing a headshot angle. You don't exactly know where to put your crosshair necessarily. And will make a second kill as well. Fight back is in action, and Heavy God's just tapping down everyone. Oh, Honda was there and ready, but couldn't get anything done. But so is Steel, and right now he's not being checked. But MHL's creeping in, needs his kill to steal, gets it, but he's out of bullets. And of course, Heavy God was going to be there for the insta trade. 4 kills, Quadra on the pistol, 17 and 7 right now. It's the two Israelis on Endpoint who are absolutely going ham. 32 kills between them.
Yeah, you know, there's been a couple of questions about Heavy God as a player and whether he's the right fit. And I got to hold my hands up. I also was kind of asking those similar questions. And I think, you know, in our podcast, we had kind of a couple of conversations about it. But he's started to really look comfortable now, isn't he? Yeah. Especially today, he has stepped up. 17 in map number 1. This is Casa's pick as well, ladies and gentlemen. Just to remind you, this is meant to be Casa's strongest map statistically. They go to, if they get given it, if they're allowed, they will always go to Overpass. And I mean, look how good they are looking right now. This is stunning stuff from Endpoint. Casa, they can't even get a sniff in right now.
It's a shame because that pistol round was once again going in their favour until Heavy God said no. So, yeah, it's a shame, but it would have been ironic if they managed to win both pistol rounds, yet I'm getting beat this hard. Shame. They did show a little glimmer. And I am a enjoyer of some of these players, it has to be said. I really did like Hondo and his little stint in Furia, and Steel, of course, back in the day of Immortals, and the interviews that he had. Some of you may remember the interview that Steel did after his team made the final in PGL Krakow, and bless him, he's one of the nicest, smiliest guys in the CSGO to talk to.
Yeah. Well, this is a Modern, isn't it? It's just cash for surreal.
Nice spray transfer, actually.
Yeah, test the waters with some more himself, and it should be relatively comfortable. Running his way in, a little bit more money in the bank as well. Very little to analyse here, apart from that the pockets of Endpoint are getting deeper and deeper on the exits there, as it's a 14th on the board. And to be honest, this is looking like the beginning of the end, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, an earlier discussion, where we were saying, is it going to get to a point where we start to beg the question, is this too little too late? And I think it's pretty safe to say, I can now ask the question, Trav, is it too little too late?
Yeah, unfortunately it is. If they manage to keep up the run on T side and manage to get, like, as I think you said yourself, 4 or 5 on the half, then it gives you breathing room to play with. But they need basically a flawless CT half now. Not something that is unexpected, but really pretty difficult from this scenario. RCF staring at the tower boost in T-spawn. Often you do see Orpas looking to directly counter. Flashbang is superb. That's a nice bit of initiative there. Still helping out Yeps with that one. Nert's given no chance whatsoever. He's never been blinder in his life. Honda shows some information of his whereabouts toward the pillar. So they get a 5v4 from that and some more info on where Endpoint are setting up.
MHL tested. And a headshot. I mean, that was that's a pretty insane flick. Fair enough. I mean, that looked like the kneecaps to me, but hey, I'm not going to complain. I'm Castor on by any means. I mean, yes, you can maybe chalk this up to a bonus buy over towards Endpoint, but even still, they've been pulled apart right now. They might not even get it right.
Yeps does well to get 2 before the Mac 10 mows it down. Sure, this was an Endpoint bonus buy, but still, Honda is wary of Heavy God already making his way through. There you go. He's going to leap his way in, but there's no way of crossing with it, even with a high maneuverability of an SMG. In that scenario, 2 players easily spray him down, and Casa get their 4th. But still, you'd expect it to be a rough ride. Thankfully, it was a cleanish round, so the money's all right. If they take this one, they would be breaking in points. So the long road has begun.
It's doable, I think. You know, for Casa, it's not dead in the water. It's not kind of done and dusted. It would take a miracle to climb back into this game. It's not impossible, but I think the best way to put it is highly, highly improbable.
Yeah.
But a good run of form. The CT side of Overpass really can work wonders. Honda, good start. Surreal to fall. There's the opener. There's Casa continuously pushing the agenda here.
I'm liking what I'm seeing from Honda in this game so far. I know it's very easy to say that because he's the top fragger, but in general, he's had very impactful rounds. And, of course, Casa could have easily had 5 or 6 rather than 4 at this moment if that spray on the defuse on A came through a second sooner. So, you know, alternate universes and all that could have easily worked out as a closer game, but that's not the reality we're playing in. Be execute by the looks of it for Endpoint. Molotov's being primed. Boost can come in on top of Nertz's bonds. All the way around, it's Nertz on the bonds of a teammate. And in the meantime, with that spray coming through from the boost, Mighty Max will take Honda. So that's the recovering kill. Bring it back into a 4v4, where RCF is trying to fight back. And look where he is, actually. He's pushed all the way through toward T-Spawn. So he's locked them in right now, and they're trying to continue to fight to stop Endpoint from having any route of escape. Heavy God coming in towards short, having to try and fight his way out. And MHL's taken steal as well. And now with that smoke up toward that position, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. RCF gets his pistol out to take MHL, but Heavy God took Yeps in the meantime. And they know exactly where RCF is in this 1v2.
They don't need to peek. Just park up. It's so simple. He cannot move an inch. He has to either try and force individual engagements or go for probably what is the safe call of saving. He has to just keep this orb in play. They can't reinvest into an orb into the next round. He's doing exactly that. He's pulled the plug. He's out of it. That's going to be 15 for Endpoint. And, you know, at a 12-3 at the half, of every map ever played, recorded on HLTV, in the history of CSGO, every map that's been played, that's been recorded on HLTV, at 12-3, you have a 90% chance of seeing it off. And Endpoint are living up to statistics right now because it looks like they are on the road to seeing this one off relatively comfortably. Casa, not part of the minority, not part of the 10% that have managed to claw back that sort of a comeback. And this one already just looks dead. I mean, look at the buy around the orb. It's not brilliant. A double farmhouse isn't exactly a dream. Leo's picked up into an M4 and full armor, but utility slightly lacking. And Honda's got an A1S and a very small amount of util to work with. Just the one singular flash. It's a brutal scenario. And I think if Endpoint get a bomb plant, just the lack of utility alone will sort of deny Cass's ability to retake.
Yep. RCF once again wins the duel against MHL, and he's been showing up in this series, but unfortunately I think it's fair to say that it could be a day late, and right now they are certainly $1 short as well. Honda and RCF have been playing pretty well, and Yeps has had his moments too, and RCF's keeping this one going. It's a second frag with the AWP, taking Mighty Max over the edge of that smoke too. But Endpoint have plenty of firepower still in the server to recover this one, and they've had a number of scenarios where they've recovered some deep advantageous scenarios, and that's another one of them. Still had the advantage on that angle. One looking to try and get a second, but Leo just recovers it in time for V2. Boost up towards CT. Honda going for a tap, but Heavy God hits the tap instead. So 2v3, smokes up towards short. The bomb might be able to go down here.
Does. Okay, bomb goes down, post plot and set up, and a bit of an aggro stance being taken here by Surreal. He may have heard the drop down in towards CT from heaven, but how do they play this now? Numbers don't favor them, utility lacking for the T side, but it isn't exactly pretty for Casa either. This is going to be a raw out fight.
Straight up, Surreal pick's gone. Good timing for the first, and he knows that RCF's the second player. That makes the orb so hard to deal with in that angle, and there we go. Not much you can do about that one. It's a beautiful cleanup from Endpoint. 16-4 on Casa's map pick. That is probably about as clean as they could have hoped for their first game of the year.
Yeah, I mean, talking about kickstarting the year in some brilliant strides for Endpoint, that is exactly what we expect as a side. Regaining kind of form as of the past, right, when they were a top 30 team, the operation of Tier 2, that's what we expect from Endpoint. And it's really well played.